My profane friends, right, we've done that elite little crematorium over there. I've now walked across here to the other side and we'll have a little look at these gravestones, yeah? And again, as I've shown in that little video I did, we've got the Knights Temple across there, look, within the pyramid. You know what I mean? It's for, see, look, the obelisks rule. These are the people, look, these are the emperors of Rome, you know, the Gypsy G travellers. These are the elites with all the money and all the power within the town and cities, you know what I mean? And you're not getting nothing. And this is why they leech all the money from people, yeah? All the money what they got there, that what could have gone back into the towns and the cities. So I mean, it all means something. This cloth draped over this obelisk means something, yeah? In Freemasonry, it's all signs, yeah, of how powerful this person is or was within life, yeah? Look at the big world domination ball on top of the urn, look, yeah? See, it's all Masonic. Look at these, look, this is all Masonic, you know what I mean? But all this money, look, all this wealth, right? Again, look, it's 232. Let me come out a bit just so you can see it. Look, you see it, look, 232, look, my power knows no bounds. See, look, 2 circles, 3 circles, 2 circles, 232, Masonic 6. Obviously you've got your circle in the middle, which is the point within the circle, but that's another story. But all this wealth, yeah, have you seen any of it being put back into the society we live in? How many houses could all this granite, yeah, and all these obelisks and all of it, how much money could have gone into building houses for the homeless and things like that? They don't give you nothing. They don't give you anything, these people. All they do is leech and parasite off the living, and in death they're the ones, if you notice again, look, see, you've got to look for the symbolism. That tells you the rank of the family, yeah? Look, yeah, that's the ranks of them, look, see? It's all their Masonic markings, yeah? See? You know what I mean, my profane friends? Beware of the marks, you know. If you don't know the Mason marks, yeah, it tells the ranks of the families, you know, and what they own and what they don't own, you know. But you think how much money has gone into this. Look at that, look, it's pure Masonic, look. That there is Masonic. You ain't getting no more Masonic than that. And the families that are buried here, their families still are still in charge within Inverness. They still control it. They're still manipulating the population. Do you know what I mean? And all they've done is took the land with their bigger gang and their more money. They've got more money, more whatever you proceed. That's what they own, you know what I mean? Look how they, look, see how they snuck it in there, look. The point within the stars, yeah? See it, look, that's within the circle, you see? It's crazy, isn't it, how they get away with it? It's mad, but it's 9, look, you see, you got 9, you got 8 points, and the one in the middle is your 9, what give you the 6, as above, so below. And obviously this is the one here as well, look, you see, because it's the 5 circles, one in the middle is your 6, 6, 6, 6, you see, 6, 6, 6. That's all that is, you know what I mean? And you've got the one above here, look, with the pyramid, just square and calm piss. But how much do you think this granite cost? All what I've shown you, yeah, in my videos, look. All these obelisks, yeah, all of that, look, all them vases and that. How much granite, how much has gone back into society? Or what that could have built for profane people. See? That's the key, and that's the question, you know what I mean? Because this is all the elite families. See, the sun hieroglyph of Ra, look, see? It's power, power. We own it, you don't. You know what I mean? Look at that, look. See, look, see, 13, 15, 16, 31, 48. These are all the families, look, yeah, yeah. The Queen and Cameroon neighbourhoods to the memory of their comrades who were buried here. You know what I mean? See, they only honour themselves. They don't honour anything that's profane. You know, here, look, this is 3 circles, look. 1 circle, 2 circle, 3 circles. 3 circles make a square, square and calm piss. Obviously, you've got the point, yeah, the point within the circle. See? Same thing, isn't it? And again, it's the 6, 7, 8, and that in the middle is the 9. So it's your 9 as a, you know, the magic 9 of Freemasonry. But they own all of this. See, look at how high I am. I don't know if you can see it. I don't know if you can see it. I'll zoom in. But that down there is the football pitch. You know what I mean? I'm right up in the air. This is why these people are buried up here. This is the Masonic elite that control Inverness. That's why you're seeing all these obelisks. You see? Oh, yeah, look. What's this? Oh, surely not. Surely not. Hey? Do you see what I mean, my profane friends? These are all Freemasons, all G travellers. Yeah? And this is why they can afford all this, all this wealth, yeah? None of it's gone back into society. You see what I mean? And that's what it is. You've got to realise all these obelisks, all these big lumps of granite, yeah, all this money been spent here. Profane people, there's not one profane person here. These are all Masonic Egyptian elite G travellers, yeah? This is what you're dealing with. And all the money and the wealth they've got through businesses and various sinister, sadistic means, this has what's put them in these places, you see? There's your 7th there, look, you see? With the G within the circle, you see? Mad, isn't it? How do you get away with it? Sun hieroglyph, look, there's the god Ra, little sun hieroglyph. See? It's all Masonic. There ain't nothing that ain't Masonic in this town or city. It's all run by Freemasons and they keep getting away with it every decade, every century, and no one's questioning it. Do you know what I mean? They run your town halls, they run your pulpits, and they pray the same con every time. You know what I mean? See? The square and calm piss. And until you pull the screw out of their calm piss, they're going to carry on getting away with their nefarious antics and making people poor, really, while we serve them. Do you know what I mean? They've took it all, and this is where the wealth go, look, into their, you know, into their gravestones, most of it. Do you see what I mean? This is 4 square, look. That's 4 square right in the centre there. You know what I mean? But also, what is it? I've shown you the fish. That's the fish. You know what I mean? I've shown you. See, 3 circles. 1 circle, 2 circle, 3 circles. You just got to make the circles. 3 circles make a square. Square and calm piss. See? Keep an eye out for them signs, man. They're there. Let's see how high I am here. Look. Here we go, look. Look at that. What a view, my profane friends. Look at that. Now that's how high I am. You know what I mean? Look at that. How wonderful is that? Now right through there, I can see a big obelisk through there. But this is the other side of the graveyard, but this is how high I am. Look at that view. You ain't getting that on a Christmas tree or a Christmas card. Do you know what I mean? Look at that, my profane friends. That's how great I am. I am the best in the world. You know what I mean? But there you go, my profane friends. I mean, imagine getting up here. This is why they build castles up here. You got to, time you get up here, you're puffing and panting with your little pitchfork, while they stand up here with swords, rocks, and everyone else, and who they're paying like gold bullion to bash you. Do you know what I mean? As you're running up the hill, that, you know what I mean? They ain't going to give you no land. They ain't going to give you nothing. This quite a recent one here. This 1982. Look, see, but they're only got up here. That's 1992. 2012, look, you see, they're recent burials here. So again, like I said, these people, you know what I mean, regardless of what you may think or do, they're still in that town in Inverness and they're still getting buried up here. Do you know what I mean? Because they're still controlling the councils and everything else, the royal elites. They're looking after the best interests of those people that have ruled it for the last 2,000 years, if not longer. You know? Look how high I am. It's crazy, look. Imagine trying to storm up here, look. It's right down there. I don't know if you can see it. That's crazy height, you know what I mean? But this is why the elites up here on the hill, the best in the place, you know. They bury the best. The elite Freemasons, the Knights Templars, the Demoles, they're all in here, you know what I mean? This is the best of the best of the best of the best of the best. There's no peasants here. Oh, baby. Can you see that one though? I didn't even notice it, look. Can you see the square within the square, look? Because that's what it is, look. It's a square. with the square. You know what I mean? You see that on most army uniforms, you know what I mean? But that's what that is, like the square within the square. You know what I mean? Square, he's a square man, you see? And you've got the obelisks behind it. But again, this would be another, there's your Masonic style, look, what I show you on the other one, you see? It's all Freemasonry. See? Let's have a look at this side. When was this? This is 1866, look. 1886, and he was on the square. He's got the Knights Templar cross, obviously, but can you see the other square on it? Look, see, so you've got the square here, look, yeah, there's your other square, and then there's your other square. Can you see it? Look, this square here, look, see it? Look, that's a square, see it? Look, that's a square, and these are squares, look, you see? So a square, two squares, and then another two squares, you see? He's well on the square, this guy, you know? And that's what it is, you know, and you can go around all day long. Like I said, these are all Freemasons, all got money, all got families within down, you know, down like into the thing. This is where your Masonic elite are, the Pharaohs, yeah? This is what you're looking at, you know what I mean? And all these gravestones and all of this wealth could have gone back into society, but it don't. It just goes for them because they keep you poor. They could build hundreds and thousands of houses. Look at the granite. You know what I mean? How many of these do you think, these Masonic, oh God, look at that, look. See it? Do you understand the wording? Look it up, what this says, yeah? Look what it means, yeah? But you know what that means, don't you, my profane friends, yeah? See, it's all Masonic. Masonic indeed, and this is where the wealth going, yeah, this is what I'm talking about, you see. See the pyramids, and if you look down from above, oh you can't on that one anyway, it'll be a square within a square, you know, and that's the point within the square, you see. But here, look, you see, there it is. These are all Masonically owned, so just that one alone here, yeah, this one, okay, and then we go to that one. Where is it? Yeah, there. And then you got these two Washington obelisks, yeah, right. And then this got one here. How many houses do you think they would have built, or put people, you know, give people a bit of wealth, or invested in their businesses or whatever? Do you see what I mean? But they don't. You know, they don't give you nothing. You know, it's repeated over and over again, every century, every decade, and so long as they keep in power, that's all they care about. They don't care about you and your family. And what they've done over the centuries, they've caused wars to get what they want between countries. But it's not between countries. What it's between nobody, because it serves them as a nation of Freemasons, and they come out on top every time. Because they're the ones that reopen the businesses, you know, they're your cobblers, they're your seamsters, they're your, do you know what I mean? They're everything. You know, they're the ones opening the businesses and everything else for the government, you know what I mean? And they're being allowed to do that because you're a lord, you're a duke, you're an earl, do you know what I mean? And you've done a funny handshake, so you're entitled, unlike the profane who have no bloodlines. See, 1887. See, so all of these have been controlling. Here's your Knights Templar, yeah, one circle, two circle, three circles make a square. There's your Knights Templar crosslet within the circle. See what I mean? It's just madness how they get away with it, you know. But there you go, these are all Masonic graves, and all this wealth and all this power, yeah, it's just gone into granite, all their money. But the money's still there in the town, you know what I mean? It's still there. If, like I've said before, you know, this is the sun hieroglyph on top of the pyramid, look. But like I said before, because they're Freemasons, they own all the funeral homes and everything else. Anyway, this is all more than likely done for nothing. It's all free. Do you see what I mean? Because you're part of our society, a nation of Freemasons, so they don't go into poor graves. You know, they don't go into pauper graves. Oh, no way. You know what I mean? They go into proper real McCoy graves like this. And they get all these little square and calm pieces added to their graves to show the brotherhood that you're a Freemason, you see? Look, each one of them is a pyramid, of course, you know that, don't you? But look, it's all Freemasonry. See? IHS, look, imitate, Hess and Set. fleur de pislet 3, 6, 9. Silly little mason, but that's what it's about, you know. But everyone should be entitled to a proper grave and a burial. Everyone should be entitled to a proper funeral. Everyone's entitled to get married if they wish, not in a registry because you can't afford to have the church. Do you see what I mean? What the fuck is wrong with these people? You know what I mean? And they control the death industry, so every death they're guaranteed money floats into the lodge, and that's why they've got everything. You go try and set up a funeral home, yeah, in your own town. You see what happens. You know what I mean? You'll get disrespected, you'll get diced and sliced. You won't be allowed to do that. That's interesting. Here, look, see the hand with the sun hieroglyph? I can't see it on when they've got the sun in my eyes, but that's very interesting. Look at that, and it's got a little horsey there. Someone's put, that's holding the scroll, look, you see. How wonderful. But it's all Masonic. Everything you see here, why they're burning upside down, I don't know. The torches are burning upside down. I don't know why, but yeah. But you've got the three circles, or the 3 points, what make a square. You've got the world domination ball on top. Interesting indeed. But that's what it's all about. That's where the wealth is. And you ain't just got to come to graveyards like this. You can find this in any town or city. And those people with their big pyramids, which I've shown in my own town graveyards anyway. You just got to go look at Masonic where the bodies are, and you can see it. It's all over the place, you know. But anyway, there you go. The monstrosity. And this is the fish. Remember I said about the fishlet? It's just a different sign. Look, there's the fish tail, and that's the fish. See, it's the fish. See? Pure Masonic, baby. Pure Masonic. Right, now I've got to climb down that bloody hill. Oh, baby, I'm dying already, and I'm just thinking about it. But as I've shown you, look, the symbolism of the square and calm piss is all over this. You know what I mean? And that's what you're dealing with. And them obelisks, especially the ones at the top there, you know, and all in here, look, these are all top ranking Pharaoh Masonic G travelling Freakmasons. You know what I mean? And like I said, none of their wealth will ever go to you, the profane. You know what I mean? It'll go in granite all day long because it's masonry, you see. It's all to do with that stonework, innit, you see? But these are all free. They ain't pay for any of this. This is all free. It's on their land. You see what I mean? It's their land, not yours. Theirs. Again, you see that? That's interesting, isn't it? You see it? Look, 3 fleur de pisses. Look, it's the square. Look, don't get me wrong. Look, see, it's the square. Look, you see the square, right? The square and the square. Yeah. Okay. How many sides has a square got? 4, but it's not that. It's actually representing the cube. So what is the cube? 6, 6, 6, because a cube has 6 sides. But that's what it's all about. You see, my profane friends? And this here, look, these 2 points here, look. Yeah, that makes the square. So it's a square within the square. There's your 4 pyramids. You see what I mean? And this from here, look, where it goes round, that's your circle. See, there's nothing changed. There's squares, circles and pyramids, look. That's all it is. There's nothing. It's just on the points. It's just different. You've got to look at it from 3D, 2D, 4D, whatever they deem fit to make it, you know. But the profane don't see it, you know. But how much do all this cost? Look, all of these here, yeah? Do you think, you know, the wealth of the families, you know, look at that. How much do you think this cost? You know what I mean? You know, this, you know, all of this wealth, yeah? All the money, all the schemes, all the people, all the profane they've ripped off over the years, all the stuff we've consumed or whatever, yeah? What's been put back into society? What have they built for the profane? Nothing. They've built for themselves and their society, making sure their families are always okay within the town, making sure their families are getting the businesses and the rights to run things. You see what I mean? You've got to take your councils back from these people, you know, your parish councils, your pulpits, your vicars, they've all got to go. Everyone who's a Freakmason within power needs to go. You see, this here, look, this gravesite, yeah, it's an Omega sign, yeah? It's an Omega sign. It tells me he's a Masonic Freakmason, you know? That's what you got to, you know, if this is all, just pure, just, oh, it's just crazy. Do you know what I mean? You know, yeah, bury your families, but you ain't got to take and consume, you know, and take everything away from the poor. You know what I mean? Because that's what we are. We are the profane poor. We're without the temple. We deserve nothing. You know what I mean? And if anything happened, like I said, they're the first ones to set up businesses in your town, whatever that may be, selling clothes, you know, or whatever. Remember, Freemasons control it all. And all this granite here, I'd hate to think how many people have been killed, conned, because most of these are bankers, solicitors, and all of that they've looked after themselves and screwed off of the poor. Do you know what I mean? And that's what they've done, screwed over the poor. You know what I mean? They're still doing it today. Nothing's changed. They're solicitors, they're your bankers, they're your prosecutors, they're your defenders, they're your car salesmen. You see what I mean? All of that goes hand in hand with Freemasonry. You know, they serve your food, they're your Tesco's, they're your Aldi's, they're your whatever. You know what I mean? And this is what they do. You're relying on these so much you wouldn't even believe how much you're relying on these people to get the food through to you. Because when they get you, and they're going to get you if you ever try to take the power, the first thing they're going to do is starve you and make a famine. Don't worry, they won't starve, because the elites in every town and city have been fortifying their positions of power, where they could, this hill here for instance, more than likely got tunnels that you don't even know about, yeah? Right, they're all told within the lodge. You could say, like, tip this down, there's a tunnel, the steps, and then you're living in here. And all they do, they've got the water, the food and everything stored under this fucking mountain here, yeah? And they've been doing that for centuries and decades in every town and city. So if it ever did kick off, the famine, we'd go around fighting each other for all the food, yeah? And when we get weak, yeah, and we can't fight anymore, they're the ones that come out strong, because they've already been eating, feeding and drinking well, yeah, in their bunkers, and then they just finish us off. And then what they do is repopulate the towns and the cities, giving themselves the best houses that we lost or whatever, and it doesn't matter to them. They just repopulate, because they know in 100 years that'll all be forgotten about, and they call it a war or a civil war. Do you see what I mean? People in America ain't blating on about the thingy no more, are they? Do you see what I mean? The Civil War or anything, or the Twin Towers even, whatever, that's forgotten about, you see, because they know time and history is a healer, see? But they will assassinate you if you try to take it away. I'll tell you what, you're going to be right in trouble, all of you, because none of you know exactly what the apron represents, and that apron is hidden behind all uniforms. You think you stand there with the army, you're not. You stand there with the Masonic army that's hiding their Masonic apron, and even the people that are profane amongst that army are going to do what their colonel says, because he has a couple of stripes on his shoulder, or a crown on his shoulder with a couple of stripes. He's more powerful than you as a civilian, so he's going to follow orders from that Freemason that is hiding his apron behind that army uniform, or that navy uniform, or the air force uniform. You see what I mean? Because they control all the armies, all the air force, all the navy, and I don't care if it's German, American, China, Japan, whatever army it is, the Freemasons control it at the top. And like I said, every family, royal family within any country, town or city, they're the ones that control it all, and they control the police and all the rest of it. Anyway, my profane friends, have a great day, and never trust the Freemasons, because remember, they reside in all towns and cities. Those Pharaohs, those gypsy G travellers. Know your enemy.